decided.
Now, before we deal with services specifically, what is your submission? How do you interpret the phrase insofar as is applicable? I mean, what?
We are concerned with administrative control. Who puts, who appoints, who posts, who transfers, who departmentally prosecutes.
If an officer is not discharging his functional role properly, the Delhi government will have no role then to say that, well, I'll shift this person and get someone else.
What your lordship.
So that, right. So the distribution also takes the same view that the use of the word state doesn't matter. The reason why state came in was because originally there were no union territories at all before the 7th.
Yes, my lord. Now, one submission of Dr. Singhvi, my lord, which I may, my lord, at the outset deal with and then come to services. The submission was that why insofar as is mentioned, so that every time the constitution is not required to be amended. Lord, your lordships may, your lordship knows, Article 239 AA itself came by way of a constitutional amendment. If the Parliament wanted to amend it, it would have said that entry so and so are excluded. So they wanted it, my lord, in a contextual form, that some entry may, under some circumstances, fall within, may be applicable to union territory. May not be applicable to union territory. It will be decided.
Now, before we deal with services specifically, what is your submission? How do you interpret the phrase insofar as is applicable? I mean, what is the test which we should apply?
Yes. Lord, my respectful submission is that so far as services are concerned, my lord, and insofar as, my lord, I am referring only to services.
No, independent of services. How do we decide whether that entry is, that matters applicable or otherwise? To
yes, your lordships, my lord, would test whether a particular subject, particular matter, not entry, but the particular matter can ever be within the domain of the union territory or not. As a class, not Delhi, as opposed to federating states. Now, taking an example, my lord, of services, as I have already indicated, I'm sorry.
Yes.
As I have already indicated, Lord, union territories are extension of the union government by definition and even constitutionally. The very purpose of creating one particular geographical area as a union territory by itself suggests that the union itself wants to administer that territory, meaning thereby through its own offices. Yes. So, all union territories are administered by central civil services officers. And they are all central government officers.
Then what is the purpose of having an elected government in Delhi at all?
Yes, I'll just answer that.
If the administration is to be carried out only at the beck and call of the central government,
no.
Why have an elected government?
I bow down. Kindly, my lord, distinguish two things, my lord, and that everything will fall in place. The functions of the officers and administrative or disciplinary control of the officers. I'll just illustrate, my lord. When a central service officer, IAS officer or Denics officer, is posted, say at Dadra Nagar Haveli or in this case Delhi, as say particular commissioner where he is empowered, he is entitled to, or he is under an obligation of issuing licenses, then he will be guided by the policies of the state government. He will be answerable. I have shown the terms, the transaction of business rules. He will be answerable to his minister. His minister will formulate the policy of license, how to give license, how not to give license, what are the parameters to be considered, how this ministry would run. That functional not control will be that of the minister, of the elected wing. We are concerned with administrative control. Who puts, who appoints, who posts, who transfers, who departmentally prosecutes. That officer cannot ask the Home Secretary whether I should give the license or not. He may have to ask his minister that whether I should give license or not. So there are two different things. Functional control is obviously with the minister concerned. That's the transaction of business rules.
But suppose the officer is not properly discharging functions. Now see how anomalous this would be. If an officer is not discharging his functional role properly, the Delhi government will have no role then to say that, well, I'll shift this person and get someone else.
Not even
Can that ever be?
I'll
functional control you concede in terms of the TBR also has to be with the Delhi government. Then can we say that, look, you will have no, they will have no jurisdiction or no authority in respect of where he will be posted, whether he should be in education or whether she should be in environment or whether she should be in somebody else should be on something else.
I'll answer that question and I must
Road construction.
Squarely. The examples given were very, very simplistic examples that I don't want this man to be in the health and I want him to be in the industry. Look, can I not do that? Let us examine the fundamental question why that control is necessary. Suppose the central government, as per the rules which I will show, posts a particular officer as industries secretary or secretary environment or any other secretary. Delhi is the capital of the country. But I'm sorry, but this may be really going to the root of it. We have neighboring states. Capital has neighboring states. And maybe as per the policy of the Delhi government or irrespective of the policy government, he starts having a non-cooperation with some secretary dealing with the similar department in say Punjab or Haryana or Rajasthan or UP continuously. Suppose Haryana person, Home Secretary is dealing with say terrorism or dealing with some act and this man never cooperates. Would it not be imposing a question to myself necessary for the state government to say that no, you remain there, but you are shifted to health? Suppose health secretary maybe as per the policy of the government or as per his own whims, start acting in a manner that there is an epidemic, either spread of an epidemic, there can be a policy, but there is an epidemic or pandemic, and some actions are not taken for some reasons, which might have an all India implication. The state government must retain its control. And if there is a bona fide reason that this officer misbehaves, this officer is not suitable for the post, this officer has committed misconduct, then disciplinary authority is undisputably, as per law, the Ministry of Home Affairs. You just indicate the law, LG, that you transfer this officer and LG is under an obligation to forward it to the cadre controlling authority. That's how the scheme has worked so far. I have the list. Whenever there was a request from the minister that either appoint somebody from bringing from somewhere to my department or transfer someone, LG is just intimated in writing and the necessary actions are taken. But as a law, as a constitutional proposition, that power is retained with the central government by LG as a representative of the President of India because you are administering the capital of the country. I am not on functional control.
In the reference is made to the cadre rules. You will have to, in your own way, you tell us.
I will. The 11A
rules. Then when the postings are to be made,
yes,
the cadre rules, once the allocation is made, to a particular state or a union territory where state is defined to include a union territory. Once the allocation is made, the rules say that the postings are to be left to the state. That is one. You address us.
I'm sorry.
On that issue.
My apologies.
Flagging that. Dr. Singh, on the other hand, also said that postings will vest in me as a state, but the union could continue to have the disciplinary authority. So therefore, we have a duality. In IAS, we know invariably the cadre controlling authority is always the union because DOPT will control that. But with respect to the postings, assignments, invariably happen by the chief secretary or GID department. How does
states? Yes, I'm sorry.
Tell us the distinction as against a state in a union territory, number one, first layer, and as against union territory so far as NCT is concerned. There is a further difference there.
Yes.
In your own way, you will have to answer that question.
Lord, I'll just let you answer that first. Lord, kindly come to my written submissions.
Now, while you're at it, Mr. Mehta, also vis-a-vis other UTs, is that how you're doing it?
Same thing. Yes, I can make that statement. Through administrator. In Delhi, the difference is administrator's nomenclature is LG, but he is not a governor in that sense of the term constitutionally. He is an administrator. He is an administrator, having the powers of the administrator under Article 239 of the Constitution. But answering that first, since it fell from your lordship's. The scheme under the administrative infrastructure in India is this. All India service officers are appointed under the All India Services Act. There are several All India services, Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, Forest Service, etc., etc. The examination is, my lords are aware, conducted by the UPS. The moment, I clear the examination, I will be given the option of choosing my cadre. I can choose my home cadre. Somebody may choose some other state, etc. There are three options to be given, which is not relevant, for the present purpose. Just, I'm giving an idea. And depending upon my ranking in the list, I get the cadre. All are state cadres, except one. That is called eqnuire cadre. And eqnuire cadre, includes
Andaman, Nicobar and all that.
Arunachal Pradesh, Goa, Mizoram, Andaman and Nicobar, Chandigarh, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, NCT Delhi, Lakshadweep, Puducherry, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So this is a joint cadre, and therefore if I am allotted eqnuire cadre, I can be transferred only in one of these,
Right.
UT or the state, because Arunachal subsequently became state, Goa became state, Mizoram became state, rest are still UT. So I will be appointed in some of these states only and not outside. There is no separate cadre, union territory wise. Now, immediately answering, and then, I'll take your lordships to this, But broadly, kindly bear one factor in mind. So far as Delhi administration is concerned, there are three layers, there are three tiers. First is All India Service. Second is DENIX. DENIX, stands for Delhi, Andaman, Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, central services, civil services. But it is a central service, I will show. So selected by UPSC, it is a central service. They are central government employees.
Normally referred to as Group B services.
Group B services. Your lordships are right. That Group B
IAS exams, everybody knows.
Pardon?
In the IAS examination, people know. Group A, Group B services.
Group B services. That is the second tier.
Most
And
hierarchy conscious institutions.
yeah, those who are selected in Group B, then again they attempt and try for Group A, etc. And the third tier is what is called DAS, DASS, Delhi Administration Subordinate Services. That is, Group C services and C and D services. Now the appointment is, my lord, for first 2 tiers, the appointment is made by
UPS.
the UPSC. So far as third is concerned, the central government has created a board, selection board, service selection board. So group D and C and D are selected by them.
Have you formulated this in your submissions?
Yes.
In your submissions? Why don't we?
There is no provision for administrator appointing the chairman because there cannot be a service commission for union territory. Reading Article 30A, 315 and the 7th constitutional amendment, which all brought this scheme together. Reading them together, they cannot be. So if one entry says state services and state public service commission, if I can satisfy your lordship that there cannot be any public service commission for union territory, then contextually the subject of services also is out, because your lordship would not bifurcate it. The legislative power would be available for half of the entry and would not be available for half of the entry.
You are driving at the proposition that their constitution do not contemplate services for union territories.
Correct. I'm grateful.
Independent of the union services.
Yes, there are only 2 services contemplated under part 14, union services and state service. For union territories, the union services go and serve. There is no third category of service.
Otherwise, it will be equated with the state,
Correct.
Union territory.
Correct. Or maybe central services, because union territory is an extension of union.
Union. It's union service.
Yes.
Union, sir.
There cannot be a third service. There is no third